I wanted to say, as I walked in the room, I was thinking as I was coming over here, what am I gonna say? And I was thinking back to when I started in politics, when I ran for state representative for the first time. And when I had my first event like this, I didn't have a crowd like this. So unbelievable. Joe Ruggiero is a young person, man, that I met about a year and a half ago, a little longer. I was gonna run for mayor, and I was running for mayor of Boston. I look out and see my friend Pat Wynn, and Pat said, "There's a guy you gotta call in Eastie. He's a young kid. He's involved in the community. He's like you were when you started running for state representative. He coaches Little League. He's involved with the kids. He helps people in recovery. He's lugging people around to detox. He's making sure they're doing the right thing. He has a great family. He respects his parents. He does everything he's supposed to do in the neighborhood that he's supposed to do. He's involved in politics a little bit in the neighborhood." So I made a phone call and I called Joe. And I said, "Joe, I'm Marty Walsh." He goes, "I know who you are." He said, I'm running for mayor of Boston." And at that particular moment, when I called Joe, we didn't have a lot of support in East Boston. We had support from the building trades. We were starting to get support from Local 26. We're starting to get support from different people. But I needed to tap into the community of Eastie. And I called Joe and I said, "Joe, I need your help." And he said, "I'm absolutely 100% with you." And I didn't understand what 100% with you meant with Joe yet, because I didn't know Joe. And for the next 9-10 months, 100% meant his family, his father, his friends, everybody that he was associated with. And he went out there and worked hard every single day. And he wasn't looking for credit, wasn't looking for recognition, wasn't looking for any of that stuff. We opened our office in East Boston, the first office we had, and we had, I think in the room that day, we had about 35 people, and we had 3 people from East Boston there. And then the next time we went over for the meeting, we had more than 3 people there. And I watched his dedication working on my campaign. And we talked a little bit about issues, but we didn't talk about a lot of issues. And that's where I got the chance to know Joe. And I know the job he's running for. I know it well. Because for 16 years I had that job. I worked at the State House. I worked on issues around recovery programs. Every single day I had a chance to go and work on issues to make sure we've got funding to get money into recovery programs. I worked on issues around housing to make sure that we're able to do things around housing to keep our seniors in their home. And we also worked on prescription monitoring program to make sure seniors had the ability to be able to get their medication. I worked on issues around economic development and job growth, creating opportunity not just for rich people, but for poor people and for people in the middle, so they have opportunities to be able to get jobs. I worked on issues around taxes and finances. I worked on issues around the environment. I worked on issues with Massport in Dorchester to make sure that as the planes were coming in, even though it affected East Boston the most, but I worked on issues because Massport wasn't given their fair share, I felt, to all communities. I worked on issues around DCR, the beaches that we have in Dorchester, making sure they were clean and making sure that the parking lots were clean and making sure that the gates were closed when they need to be, so that when kids went down the next day, there weren't needles and things in the park. I worked on issues like that. I worked with the city of Boston on issues like public works to make sure the streets are clean. I worked on issues with the city on transportation to make sure that the roadways were clean and plowed. I worked on all of those different issues as a state representative. I know what it takes to have to do that job. I know the commitment it means. It means you have to know your neighbors. You have to know every street in your neighborhood, so when you're talking and you're fighting for your programs, you know exactly what you're fighting for. You have to know the churches and the priests and the parish and the nuns. You have to know the religions in the neighborhood. You have to know the neighborhoods. You have to know the seniors in the neighborhood. You have to know where the kids are going. You need to know what the future of those kids are. So as you're working for programs, you're making sure that those programs are fulfilled. I understand that because I did that job for 16 years. And I worked at the State House with probably 1,000 different people, maybe more than that over time, over my 16 years. I saw state reps come, and I saw state reps leave, and I saw people come, and I saw people go, and I could tell when somebody came in that thought about and cared about the issues that I cared about, and the people in the district cared about. I knew they were going to be good state representatives. So I know that the person that I'm going to bring up to this stage, I know what type of state representative he's going to be. I know what type of person he's going to be. I know that for East Boston, I can honestly say he is the best candidate to go. Who he is. And the one last thing I'll say before I bring him up here. The best learning experience I ever had in my life was the learning experience I got before I got into recovery. I understood what it was to be down and out. And I understood what it was to disappoint people. And I also understood what it means when you get your life back on track, because you have a burning desire inside you that no one else can compete with. No one else can matter. And understanding the struggles, not just the people that do well, but people that are struggling. So I'm happy to be here tonight to introduce to you my friend, a kid who spent 8 months knocking doors for me in every part of this town and every part of this city, who never once questioned me on anything and said, I know you're the right guy for mayor. Well, let me return the favor. I know who the right guy for state representative is.
Thank you everyone for coming out tonight. Thank you tremendously for coming out tonight. I know the weather's not too cooperative. I want to thank my family, my friends, my supporters, and those that just came here to hear me out. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your faith in me. I want to thank my brothers and sisters in labor here. That instantly answered the call when I asked for help, and I will always be there for you folks. And thank you very much for coming out here tonight. I'd like to take a minute to acknowledge some of the pillars of this neighborhood that passed away over the last year. We've lost some real strong people in East Boston. Just this past week, Mrs. Fizzy, who was a huge community activist here in East Boston, and the great Anthony Albano. And I see the Albano. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Joe Ruggiero, and I'm a candidate for state rep here in East Boston. And you might recognize the name. Me and my dad have a funeral home right up the Heights, and I'm a small business owner in the neighborhood. I've lived in East Boston my whole adult life. I went to Savio Prep. After Savio Prep, I decided to pursue the family business, and I got into the funeral business. And as a young adult, I struggled with a problem that many in this room are familiar with, either personally or through families and friends. And 5 years ago, I got sober, and I'm standing here today because it's funny. Life's been busy and life's been full over the last couple of weeks. But this morning I made time, and I made sure that at 9 o'clock this morning I sat down with another family of another young boy who passed away from a heroin overdose. The time for action is now. We can't afford to wait. We need to do more to create support networks for the family of alcoholics and addicts. We focus a lot on treatment, but we need to stop the cycle of addiction in our neighborhood. We need to educate. We need to get quality information to our schools and our community centers so that they have the information that they need to help. They are the ones that interact with our children the most, and they need those resources. We need to advocate for better funding for mental health and substance abuse. Because right now, treatment, good treatment, is only available for the wealthy. You wouldn't turn someone away from a hospital with a serious medical condition. You just wouldn't. Daily, people are told to call back tomorrow. And sometimes tomorrow never comes. And we need to take this issue seriously. We are losing lives daily. Substance abuse affects all of us. It isn't an issue that discriminates. It doesn't matter what language we speak, how long we've lived in the neighborhood, or who your parents were. This is a problem that affects all of East Boston. When I got sober, I rededicated myself to getting active in East Boston and getting involved with our youth programs and our business programs. My first job was at the YMCA as an after-school counselor. And there I developed a passion for helping out the youth in East Boston. And I played sports and was active in sports up in the suburbs. And I would see that these opportunities that kids that didn't come from the city had. You know, these sprawling organizations that were very organized, that provided all these opportunities. And when I got involved in East Boston and the youth programs here, they were good, but they could have been better. And it was more than just writing a check and being a sponsor. It was about getting involved and getting active. And being a coach and being down the field 6 and 7 nights a week and talking to the kids and interacting with them and teaching them the values we have here in East Boston. It wasn't about how to kick a soccer ball or throw a baseball. It was about teaching them what East Boston was all about. Our community here, it was about teaching them how to, have hard work and dedication and pride in their neighborhood. And the sense of the community down at Noyes Park on a Tuesday afternoon watching a baseball game is tremendous. Parents interacting with each other, talking about the happenings of the neighborhood. It is what East Boston is all about, and we need to continue to develop these programs. The children are the future of East Boston. Our programs are great and all trying to do great things, but we need to unite them and support them. We need to develop lines of communication between all of our programs. Zoomix wouldn't do a good job at teaching a kid how to play sports, and Little League wouldn't do a good job at teaching a kid how to play an instrument. But all of these opportunities should be available for all of our children. And we need to open up these lines of communication so that people know what's going on. We need to have a comprehensive inventory of what we offer here in East Boston. And we need to help and promote them so that they become successful and are available for everybody. And parents, I've been on the field with your kids. I don't just write a check and hope it all goes well. I step onto the field to try to make a difference. To try to be a positive role model. Our kids need to feel safe in our neighborhood. Keeping them busy and engaged is the first step towards success, and the first way to keep them out of trouble. Being a state rep is about supporting our families. These programs are one step, but we need to make sure our parents are confident in our schools are strong. I want to advocate the support of our working families. We need to create opportunities for families. Too many people are struggling with 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet. And we need to do better in the neighborhood. And we need to bring resources to East Boston. Sometimes we're forgotten about. And for the last year I've been working at Suffolk University. And when I got to Suffolk University, they were looking for a home for their athletics. And they were looking all over the city. And I sat down with them and I told them a little bit about East Boston. And I told them about our community here and what we had to offer here and how much they needed us, but we needed them. And we went down and we went to the parks and we showed them the parks and we signed a deal that was getting signed this week that's going to bring a $200,000 benefit back in. But it's more than money. It's about showing our children that college experience that kids all over the neighborhood get to see, all over the city get to see, but they don't get to see it in our neighborhood. It's about our children being doorsteps away from a collegiate baseball game or a collegiate soccer game and seeing the opportunity that could be out there for them. And you can't put a price tag on it. And seniors, I hear your concerns. But it's partnerships like the Suffolk University partnership with our partners. It's partnerships like that that can bring our senior center to fruition. Those are the partnerships we need to work on. And I hear your concern with the rising cost of healthcare. I'll never forget being with my grandmother. My grandfather was ill in the nursing home. And the nurse came in, and my grandparents worked their whole lives. They worked their whole lives, they had pensions, they had health insurance, but the woman came in and was telling my grandmother that the insurance was running up, and that she needed to make a decision between paying out of pocket and divorcing my grandfather so he could get aid. And it should never be that hard to choosing whether to go grocery shopping or going to CVS to pick up a prescription should never be an option. And I will fight for that. And I know, me and my dad, we have a small business in the neighborhood. And I know that small businesses are the staple of East Boston. And I know the challenges firsthand of what it takes to be a small business owner. The challenges of managing inventory and the permitting and licensing problems and making payroll and renovating and finding resources and getting funding from banks. I know those challenges firsthand. And we need to support and promote our small businesses. We need to encourage them to be good community partners. Our business community is the lifeblood of the neighborhood. They keep the local economy going. They buy local, they hire local, and they donate local back to the economy, and we need them to be strong. We need to develop strong programs for them. We need to expand Main Streets and expand the Chamber. We need to unite Main Streets and the Chamber so that we can have the most comprehensive support programs possible. Like I said before, East Boston's often forgotten about. We're on the other side of the tunnel, and sometimes we don't get all the resources we need over there. We have a lot of growth to do here. And we have new people coming into the neighborhood. And we need to welcome them, but we want to make sure that our neighborhood doesn't become a transient neighborhood. We want to make sure our neighborhood doesn't become a pit stop on someone's life. We want people to come here, to stay here, to raise families here, to buy property here, and to make East Boston their home. But we need stronger transportation here. You know, we're cut off from the rest of the city, and we need access to the rest of our city. The red line and the blue line need to be connected. That funding needs to happen. Our ferry system needs to get up and running. To connect us to the South Boston and the South Boston. A 5-minute drive through the tunnel should not equal a 15-minute trip on public transportation. And we need to advocate for that funding. We need to support amenities in East Boston. We need to support amenities like the potential East Boston Museum, the East Boston Playhouse, and the other diverse opportunities that we need. We need to encourage a diverse business sector. We need to encourage local retail stores and other stores that will make it easier for foot traffic and to get community involved. If any of you haven't been to it yet, at 154 Maverick Street, now at City Hall, we have Boston Brewing Coffee Shop. And Boston Brewing Coffee Shop business model is to be a community partner, is to give back to the community. And we need to support coffee shops and businesses just like that. We need to help them out. And as much as we need to develop our own young talent, we need to attract young talent to East Boston. And the Innovation District in South Boston has completely revolutionized the waterfront. And we need that Innovation District here. We have the infrastructure, we have the warehouse and on the waterfront, and we need to find creative ways to turn that space into incubator space and bring local businesses here. It took us 17 years, I hear it all the time, it took us 17 years to get the waterfront buildings up and going, and we can't afford to wait that long for its completion. We can't. And we, the residents, need to have the strongest voice in what goes on down that waterfront. And we need to develop, working with the mayor, a master plan for development in East Boston. better job advocating for our neighborhood on Beacon Hill. I want to represent you on Beacon Hill. I want to be the voice of United East Boston. I live here, I'm committed to this neighborhood, I have a small business here, my family's here, and I will be here for East Boston. And when I say East Boston's a diverse neighborhood, I mean it. But the things we have in common far outweigh the things that separate us. We all care about education. We all want economic development and job opportunities. We all want to have support for working families. And we need to advocate for the best East Boston possible. And I want to be that voice for the United East Boston for all of us. And we have always been a proud, hard-working, middle-class neighborhood. And I want to be the champion of working families just like yours and mine. And I want to hear from you. And I want to have those difficult conversations. I want to hear from the dad that struggled with 3 jobs, and the senior that can't afford their prescription medication, and the business owner who can't get a liquor license, and the mom who's concerned about the quality of the schools that her child's attending. I want to hear from you. I know the dedication it takes to build something successful. Our family business started small, but through hard work and dedication, we've grown our business to be one of the successful staples of the neighborhood that has been able to give back and participate in the neighborhood. And I want to take this work ethic and represent you. We need to keep our neighborhood strong and moving forward. My days will not stop. My work will not end. I will be the tireless advocate that East Boston needs. My name is Joe Ruggiero, and I'm asking for your vote on my.